welcome to the Takarazuka Review Fan Podcast, a podcast where Zuka fans from all over the world get together and talk and squee about Takarazuka. Today, we have Julie in Arizona.
And this is Becca in California.
Kitty, also in California.
I'm Heidi in Philadelphia.
And Carly in New York.
Fantastic. We didn't rehearse that, so I'm glad it went off without a hitch.
I figured we'd go East Coast, West Coast.
All right. Nice.
Reverse
Very
it.
nice.
West Coast,
we
East
didn't
Coast.
even do that.
Sorry.
Yeah. It's been a while, but we wanted to get some people together to talk about Anastasia. For those of you who might not know, there have been live streams on. I think most of us international fans have been watching them on Rakuten instead of Unext, but there are guides on Tumblr and perhaps other places about how you can use a VPN to get a ticket on Rakuten and give your money to the company to be able to watch these streams. They're about $35 US,
yes.
Which is pretty awesome.
And there's something about it that sort of blows my mind. First of all, in that it's been
when we became fans.
Yeah, I mean, there's on two levels. One is that I haven't been into any kind of a theater in nearly a year, and so just the idea that theater is happening anywhere is a little mind-blowing. But then also, I mean, Julie, I was thinking about this the other day, and way back in the day, the way that, you got updates on anything was I texted you after the show from the other side of the world, because you were in Japan and I was in the US.
Well, but before that, when I wasn't in Japan, I remember staying up at 2 a.m, refreshing the news site furiously to get any news, and then just scouring what are all those websites that show first day photos and things like that?
Oh, like Sanspo
and then Sanspo and something sports and but then we'd just have to wait 3 months for the DVD.
So because I feel like this needs to be said, back in our day, we had to walk uphill both ways in the snow and rain.
We did.
Because it was snowing and raining.
We did.
Man, I feel...
Back in my day.
I feel glad that I at least started, at least in the age of Twitter, so that I could go on Twitter and see news and
exactly
photos.
Read the ad-lib spreadsheets.
There was no Iridemachi photos. Yes. People who post ad libs are angels. I love them. Well, before we get too far into chatting about the show, let's talk about happy things. I think everyone said they had one. Maybe we'll go in the same order. So that means me first. My happy thing, I thought of it and then I instantly forgot it. Oh, I remember. I have had some of you might have used Sandy's shopping service, TS Asia, or My Favorite Things Takarazuka, I forget what it's called. And I bought some things from Sandy 6 months ago, and they've just been languishing because Japan's EMS isn't shipping to the US. And in desperation, I was like, can you send something to my friend in Canada? And Sandy was like, sure. And then the next day, it was like, sorry, I can't send to Canada either. Japan's not, EMS isn't sending to Canada either. So I've just been kind of just emailing every month or so to check in, but I didn't want to be too annoying about it. But I finally was talking with some friends who suggested different shipping services. And so I emailed Sandy again and said, can you send it by Kuroneko instead of EMS? And my things are finally on the way. My otome from last year.
Oh my gosh.
My otome from last year, in addition to some other things. I actually, this sounds silly, but I didn't go back and look at everything I asked for, so that
That's kind of
sweet. That's smart, actually. I like that.
So that's my happy thing. Becca, what about you?
So I'll just go with the magic of live streams. So, Michan, Hokusho Kairi, and a few other OGs, I know, including Ichika, Hinamifu, and I don't remember who else, but they're doing a concert to mark the 10-year anniversary of 3/11 and the quake and the tsunami. And it's going to be live streamed, and you can once again buy tickets for it. So once again, it blows my mind. I can't believe. Sometimes technology amazes me, and I'm just really excited that I'll get a chance to see this because the number of tape recordings for OGs goes down pretty significantly.
Is Renta in it too?
You might be
that sounds right.
I don't remember.
Was this the one Mori was in? Mori Kayaki?
There's been a couple.
No, I think that.
And
I think this one's.
Okay, yeah, because there have been a few different.
We'll put the
concerts.
link. Yeah, we'll put the link on the blog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kitty, what about you?
So my happy thing is the new Romeo and Juliet production in general, and how to phrase this, Aizuki Hikaru's Tybalt costume in particular. It's good. It's very good. And then also a Japanese friend of mine, she said she was going to send me a New Year's card, and she did, but I didn't know that she also put some postcards of show in it. So that was really nice. Yeah.
Aww.
They're so cute.
That's so sweet.
That's super nice. Who was next?
Yes.
Heidi, what's your happy thing?
My happy thing, aside from watching the stream in general, because it had been a long time since I've watched any Nuzuka, actually, and I got to do it from my couch, which was great. I received one of my December club card in the mail last week, 2 weeks ago. Just the general state of postage lately. To be fair, I did get my New Year's one closer to actual New Year's, but it was just really funny when it showed up in February, and I think it was postmarked December 18th or something like that. So I'm still getting mail trickling in.
Yeah.
I've seen it kind of hit or miss. I've also had some radio and things like that show up months after. I was pleasantly surprised last week when I got forms for the OG Elizabeth Gala concert. And there were actually, assuming I could get into Japan, there would have been days to spare to turn around on that deadline. So, given the state of things, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Amazing. So. And Carly.
Yeah. Not to get too excited about the, 475th Elizabeth Gala concert. I think it's nice that they pulled in some new people, some people who have never played the roles that they're playing in some of the special versions, and particularly I think the all 89's fantasy cast is pretty cute.
I'm so excited about that.
It's really cute.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize how many 89s it was until I sat down and started thinking about it. And I was like, Natchan's an 89th, Bena is an 89th.
Right.
So many people.
And Kai really Rudolph is Galaxy Brain.
Right? Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. I don't know what's funnier, the fact that it's the 89th reunion concert with a few other people, or the fact that they couldn't just make it all 89s. I feel like people have also been joking about how Daimon's pretty much taking a 10-day break from.
Oh yeah, and
after Taidan,
it's 11. I counted, and they already started rehearsals. So I don't know if she's rehearsing alongside her already very depressingly anticlimactic Taidan, or if she's just gonna have to really rush after. But I feel terrible.
Oh no!
Just all around.
It's not a costume cast, right?
I don't think so.
So, I mean, let's
Hmm.
be real. Whomst among us does not know like pretty much the entirety of Elizabeth backwards and forwards?
That's a very good
That's fair.
How much does someone really need to rehearse?
I'm trying to remember now, like past anniversary productions. So the costume cast will obviously have costumes, whereas I assume that it'll be just regular formal wear in the other ones. But how much of the choreography and things like that are done? I can't imagine it can't be a full show.
No, I
I
feel
think
like
there's
it's
I'm
some
usually
trying to
limited
remember.
choreography.
stand
Like
and
they
sing.
do select scenes versus doing
Mm.
like the full transitions and everything.
Mhm.
But I think if I remember correctly from the last one, the costume version has a little more like acting and choreo than the concert version.
I think I've only seen the concert version.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean there have been a lot of Elizabeth reunions over the years, so
Yeah.
who's to say?
Exactly, like you said, the 499th or whatever.
Yeah, but I have to say, after I think a lot of us have hit Elizabeth saturation, but I was actually excited when I saw that announcement.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have
especially
bittersweet
because
feelings.
it's like Koyanagi Naoko also is like fully billed on it,
I
which is
noticed
always
that.
nice.
I did notice that she got like a directing credit under Koike Sensei, so maybe he's finally getting tired
Nice.
after all.
That would be nice.
Well, in my brain, Koike Sensei is always the same age, but then it occurred to me he is probably getting older. I had to look up
Yeah.
politics.
I'm sure it'll
real.
never happen, and I know we all have like Elizabeth fatigue, but it would be super cool if she just got to direct the next one. I would
I've
love
been
to see some
thinking
different
about
choices.
it. Yeah,
That would be
like
so cool.
it has not left my brain since I noticed her name on
Yeah.
that page. That would be interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Meanwhile, Koike is like, you'll pull it out of my cold dead hands.
Although, like, because we are getting more, because like, considering the subject of today, Inaba was also assistant director for previous Ret J's. He's now fully billed Ret J co-director, and he got Anastasia all to himself. I don't know if Koike ever had any interest in it, but him getting a full Western adaptation is a very good sign, honestly.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Nice.
And when we jump into the show more, I want to talk about that because I could certainly feel it in the production
Well,
of
let's do.
Anastasia itself. I'm so
Let's-
used to Western music.
Yeah.
But let's
Let's jump in.
Let's talk about the cartoon movie first, because like who, like raise of hands, virtual raise of hands, who freaking grew up with that movie?
Me.
You know, who saw it in the theater, and
Yeah.
I'm sure there are at least a few of you listening who weren't born yet.
Please don't
Sorry.
say that. That hurts my feelings.
I was definitely
Sorry,
born, but I
Julie,
actually
sorry.
have not seen it.
You never even
Yeah,
seen it at all?
No.
Oh wow.
Oh
Yeah,
no, it's so good.
I've seen it once. Yeah.
Oh man.
But I was like really little, so I was fast forwarding through all the Rasputin parts.
Oh
They're
my
weird,
gosh.
let's be serious.
They're weird.
But I
Yeah. Also-
loved the movie. I loved the music. I spent all of my pennies on the soundtrack. I was so proud of myself. It was like the first CD I had bought with my own money, and I listened to it ad nauseum. So
Yeah.
So, I was looking up the animated movie. I'd forgotten some of the people in the cast.
Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan does Anastasia's
Yep.
speaking voice.
Kirsten Dunst is
Kelsey Grammer.
young Anastasia. John Cusack is Dimitri.
Mhm.
Kelsey Grammer and Bernadette Peters.
Christopher Lloyd plays Rasputin. Yeah.
Mhm,
It's a pretty
mhm.
good cast.
Angela
True,
Lansbury
true.
is the Dowager Empress.
Yeah,
It's just like a
Mhm.
who's who of.
it's a really good cast.
Yeah, it's a very well cast
Mhm.
movie.
Also, one more tidbit. So I was looking through this. So included among the ensemble character voices are J.K. Simmons and Billy Porter.
Oh, I know Billy Porter, but tell me about J.K. Simmons.
I'm looking at Wikipedia and it just says that he's listed. So he must have played some background character.
Huh.
No, but I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Oh, of Spider-Man and. I mean, I think I know him mostly from Spider-Man, but
Huh. All right. I guess all I really wanted to say is I'm glad the cartoon movie existed as a starting off point for this musical. There's certainly parts of it that I still love, and you really couldn't reproduce them in a stage version. But Anastasia literally beating up Rasputin in her high heels is one of the greatest cinematic moments of all time.
So good.
So she literally, like, Don Bluth movies are so much better than Disney movies when it comes to, like, girl power, for lack of a better word, especially in the 90s. And her, like, dress gets torn apart as she's just kicking ass, and it's great. It's great. I love it.
So one thing, if it's okay to talk about, is that there's a pretty big shift from the animated movie to the stage version, where the animated movie has this very fantastical element involving sorcery and demonic
Undead
Rasputin
Rasputin.
who poisons everybody's minds with thoughts of communism, and it's whereas that element is completely removed.
I mean,
in the stage
of course,
version.
we know that Rasputin sort of did poison the minds of the royal family. He just wasn't an undead sorcerer.
Yeah, they did a whole other play about that for Not So Much Tie-Dye.
Honestly, I do feel like that's kind of a weird choice on the Broadway people, because you're taking Anastasia after the DNA test establishing that the legend is pure fantasy, and then you're making it realistic. This is when you chose to do that.
Well, I guess my point was, it's a little too childish for Broadway to be all Bartok the Bat and undead Rasputin with his eyeballs popping out and things like that.
Yeah.
And then also, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just a rags to riches, finding your family story. It doesn't have to be realistic.
Yeah.
I also find that I'm trying to remember the, like, fighting against demonic Rasputin scene, but those scenes can be hard to stage well in a musical. That's not to say that they never are, but I remember when I saw the Aladdin musical, which was great, that really they kind of just talked through the entire Jafar turns into a giant snake scene. And, frankly, that was fine. Like, I think I would rather that they just got rid of that and back to the other fun parts. But sometimes that stuff, it just doesn't, unless you're really going to invest in it, it just doesn't translate well.
Oh, I had to remember that I saw that, actually, and I didn't even remember that part at all.
That's funny. Yeah, and I mean, we can talk about it as we talk about the staging. There's been a lot more use of CGI and background screen stuff in musicals these days, both in Western and in Takarazuka. For good and for ill, I have mixed feelings about it.
I really did love the use of the tech in Anastasia.
I felt like it wasn't as ham-fisted as the tour version that I saw, which, just out of a pure stroke of luck, when Anastasia Takarazuka version was announced, I saw a tour version like a week or 2 weeks later. It just happened to be in town, and I hadn't even known about it until I was like, oh my gosh, I have to see this if I can. And then it was just coming to Gamage amazingly. And Becca, I think you saw that tour version as well.
Yes, I saw it when it was in the San Francisco Bay Area. Having now seen the Takarazuka version twice, I'm trying to decide if it was less, that the projection effects were less obnoxious, or if it was that,
actually,
better,
that's
like,
a good point.
Camera angles,
That's
so you're not seeing so much of it.
I can't really judge because I didn't see it in the theater.
Yeah, they definitely always show up less on video. Like, I feel like the projections in recent years, back in the day when we could actually go see Takarazuka, I always made me feel like that was weird and really kind of corny and unnecessary. And then on the DVD, it would end up not even.
The one that really sticks in my mind is Valley of Xuanyao Ray, where in Ray there was like this huge CGI opening that did not need to exist, and I'm just like, I just want to see the actresses. Like, you don't have to do this.
I've seen some CGI, like for example, in the Phoenix Wright opening, where it's very obviously kind of anime video game-ish style. I also thought Ocean's 11,
Yeah, but now
made
it's
interesting uses of the projections. But you
right.
have
It's
to
gotten to the
be like
point where like
mindful.
they don't have sets that are like painted sets or whatever. They're just using a CGI background, and it's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and that feels lazy.
Yeah.
I honestly did like a lot of the projected backgrounds in Anastasia. Because of like they had more motion in them, and they were, some of them, when they were working along with the rotating turntable, obviously you couldn't do that with a static set, and it was really, really well
Especially in the train
melded in,
scene,
I thought.
Mm.
I love
The train scene was so good.
Yeah.
Although honestly, in the live stream, I actually had to stop watching a little bit during the train scene because it was doing some weird things. I think in the live theater, it would have not been a problem for me, but it was kind of doing the hot eyes flashing lights. Yeah.
You know, I feel like people complained about that even in the
it certainly was
Broadway version. So.
Like so much in the tour, there was just like no set. It was just CGI, and I was like, okay. I mean, the train, for example, like the train in the Takarazuka version at least looked sort of more like a train car, whereas in the tour it was like just rebar, sort of. Like, Becca, you saw it too, right? Where it was like, it looked like a trolley car with like barely any. Yeah,
I did.
It looked like a trolley car with like a really basic frame, and it turned around on the stage, and then the rest was just CGI backgrounds. Which I feel like someone has told me that the tour versions usually do have more like stripped down sets and things like that, because of course they have to move it around from place to place. Anyway, the story of Anastasia itself, if anyone doesn't know, of course, is that in the early 1900s, the entire Romanov royal family was murdered, but one princess got away and maybe lived. It's a rumor, and the story is just that there are two con men who are trying to get out of the country because there's a lot of political upheaval in Russia at the time. They decide to audition young women to find someone who might be able to pass off as Anastasia, bring her to Paris to show her to the Dowager Empress, who is living in Paris. And in the Broadway version, the antagonist is a communist officer by the name of Gleb, who is chasing them, trying to make sure that they stay good and loyal Russians in Leningrad, where they belong. Hopefully that's an accurate summary.
Yeah. And sorry. So it's worth mentioning, because I'm gonna instantly bring this up, especially about Gleb. Not only are there, a lot of prior Anastasia movies dating back to the 1920s, like plays and things, this is also definitely not Takarazuka's first foray into Anastasia. The ones I know about, and it's certainly possible they've done ones earlier than this, there's one by Ueda Shinji in 1982, where, it was an anthology show, but acts 1 and 3 survive and are the ones about Anastasia. The middle act was cut out for a TV broadcast, but that one is interesting because 2 of the princesses survive, although we only see Anastasia by the end, so something must have happened to the other one. And then there's also a show from the early 2000s starring Kozuki Wataru called Eternal Prayer, which is it's about the Dauphin of France, Louis XVII, who died in the French Revolution, but the plot beats are very, very similar to Anastasia, down to the way Anastasia is identified in the animated film is, I think, actually in that script. I just couldn't find it to watch again to check, but it was very interesting. But, so especially, like,
Who does
when
Wataru
I'm
play?
watching... Wataru is the
Dauphin. You said it's about a guy.
adult version of the young
Yes,
Dauphin,
yes.
yeah. But yeah, so they're in the Ueda Shinji script, there's a young communist officer who is in love with Anastasia's older sister.
Okay.
And the vibes that character has in relation to Gleb is just very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting because Anastasia is not a Takarazuka original. It was brought out from Broadway, so yeah, we'll have to put links to the Takawiki on those other two shows because I didn't even know they existed until you brought it up the other day.
Yeah, I love the type of story that this is, so I've tracked down everything Takarazuka has to offer that's similar.
Nice. Yeah. Let's get into it. Let's talk about our leads. Makaze Suzuho as Dimitri, one of the con men, and Hoshikaze Madoka as Anya / Anastasia.
So as someone who hasn't really watched Makaze Yurikata rather in years, I was impressed. I felt like she had grown up a whole lot.
She did. That's not even just, I haven't been in Takarazuka fandom for a while. Something about them being on lockdown for 6 months, I feel like Makaze must have worked on her singing technique because it felt like she was like ready for a big 2-act Broadway musical as opposed to like, I mean, she's not bad, but like she leveled up.
Well, I imagine that a lot of them, I mean, you're right, they probably had time to study their singing technique, and they also probably had vocal rests that they have not had in their entire careers.
No
yeah,
kidding.
just the rest.
No
For
kidding.
the first time ever. Like,
Yeah, there was like
it was months
quotes.
of rest.
I think there was a
Imagine
quote
that.
from Yurika on Shonichi where she was like, "Yeah, when lockdown started, I did not know what to do with myself." I forget if she was
Yeah.
the
Join the
one
club.
who was like saying that during quarantine she would cook at home and then plate it real fancy to show off and pretend she was at a restaurant. But that might have been someone else, so I'm not quite sure on that. But yeah, I personally, I just
I'm not
think
sure either.
after Madoka kept getting to collect various amnesiac Makaze Suzuhos, I'm just really glad that Yurika got the chance to do that.
Memories of Barcelona and Flying Sapa. Oh, does Vampire Succession?
That's so
no, because
funny.
he has his memories.
He has his memories.
Yeah.
Takarazuka knows what I like.
Yep. Yeah, who else has comments on Makaze?
Yeah. This is like, when they announced it, I was just like, perfect.
Mm.
So I guess that's my opinion on it, and I do think she really delivered that. My one complaint is like, I wish her costumes had been a little more of
Dirty?
like the like the dirty street urchin in comparison to like ultimately Anastasia becomes the princess, because that dynamic between the two characters is so delicious.
I love the Bolshevik costume that she wears in the very, very beginning for like 1 second. I kind of wish that they had more of that, like you said, looking more like a rundown street urchin.
And Julie, when we were watching it, I know you
Yeah.
commented that for a rundown street urchin, she has like 3 different suits in the first act.
She has 2 coats, okay? 2 big, nice winter overcoats. And I'm like, where did you get these coats and why do they look so nice?
Do you want to talk a little bit about how, obviously being a Takarazuka version, the role of Dimitri was expanded, and we got We got a
New
new
song.
song, and I think we also got a few reprises that were not in the Broadway version.
Yes. The one that
Yeah,
I
I
like
think
to
so
call
too.
Dimitri Learns to Do It,
Yes, that one.
or Learn to Do It in St. Petersburg, perhaps. It's like a mishmash of both songs.
Yeah.
There's a few points where
Yeah.
they added a little extra bit for Dimitri, or they added Dimitri singing parts into the Anastasia songs and things like that to make to give Makaze more stage time, I guess.
So, one thing I thought was really interesting is, so, I mean, as we just said, yeah, that Dimitri basically gets added to two of the really big songs, Journey to the Past and Once Upon a December. But at the same time, I felt like the narrative focus still had Anastasia as the main character. Like, I mean, obviously, yes, but, like, for example, it takes a good 10 minutes until Makaze shows up. Which is a little unusual for a Daigekijo show. And then I was pleasantly surprised that they did not try to force her into the final scene in between Anastasia and Gleb, because it wasn't really her conflict, and I think it would have been awkward. So her role was increased, but I felt like at the end of the day, Anastasia was still the main character, as she should be, but this is the kind of thing that can make Takarazuka nervous.
Right.
Yeah, I do.
No, yeah, Anya is
Oh, sorry.
definitely the one who goes on an emotional journey.
Yes.
Yeah. I do kind of wish they'd given Dimitri and Vlad like a little more backstory. But this is kind of like across the board on the show, and I think it's probably from the Broadway script, because it doesn't seem that Inaba changed all that much, so I don't know what the negotiations were like on what was allowed to change, but it did feel like a lot of the characters besides, like, Anastasia, Lily, and the Grand Duchess were, like, a little bit flat. Like, something needed a little more somewhere, but it didn't seem to be Inaba's fault.
No, it moves around pretty speedily, and there's so many song numbers that, like, if they wanted to add any more, like, dialogue, they would have had to cut singing. And I definitely agree that, like, it's not like Dimitri has, like, a lot of personality. He's there, like, he's a huge jerk to Anya in the beginning, and all he wants is money, and he slowly learns to want other things other than money.
Yeah, it's kind of, I'm gonna go off on Wandering Requiem again because I'm obsessed with it. It's the Ueda Shinji one. It's really interesting to compare Gleb's character with the antagonist character, and then Yurika's character with Asamire's character in the second portion of the show. Because they're kind of achieving the same story goals, but the similarities and differences are really, really interesting.
Like what?
Because, like, okay, so also, because in the Ueda Shinji one, this is going to be a spoiler for Wandering Requiem. In the Ueda Shinji one, Anastasia, Anya, is the one pulling the con. And it's very vague for a long time whether she actually is Anastasia or is just faking it so she can scam her way into her grandmother's money. And the Asamire character is the one who kind of is all in on she's Anastasia and she needs to be where she belongs.
Interesting.
So it's very interesting.
Dimitri certainly gets there, where eventually he's like, she is Anastasia, I care about her, she deserves to find her family, and that's you, so you better accept her, kind of.
Yeah, as far as, expanding that role, like we've seen in other, productions maybe that don't always make sense, I was really pleased with the balance of it overall. But I will say, you could ask my partner Al, like when they started Journey to the Past and only Makaze, like the song was only on stage, I was about to throw things. I was like, don't you even.
Yeah.
And then Madoka came back on and I was like, thank God.
Right.
I
No,
was
I
like, this
just
is her song. How
accepted
could
it,
you do her that
I
dirty?
was like,
But they didn't.
I'm over the moon that Takarazuka's
Yeah.
Anastasia was happening. So I was like, whatever changes they make, I'm gonna just roll with it, you know. But yeah, it's
because like the only
go ahead.
sorry, the only like known pop culture known songs in the show are Anastasia only. So they kind of did. It was kind of inevitable.
What was I gonna say?
I was
Right.
One thing I was wondering about is I feel like in America the movie is pretty well known. Maybe not as much as Disney, but people my age have generally heard of it. And it must have been released in Japan, but I don't know what its reception was. I've never seen anything for it in Japan, but I'd be curious what that was like.
I think it's in the cultural consciousness very much, but I don't know. But
I suspect somebody must have seen
right.
it because of Eternal Prayer.
Yeah.
But...
Well, I'm sure they all, a lot of fans were going back and watching it just to get an idea of what they're getting into. But.
I think I was going to say something about Dimitri and Anya. Oh yeah, because he's like just like a real jerk to her in the beginning, you know, and so sassy and like.
Yeah, they both kind of go back and forth, right?
Right. He's like auditioning these prostitutes to see if one of them can be Anastasia. But then as soon as Anya shows up, he's like, you? Screw you.
Nah.
You know? Like, since when did he get so high and mighty when like 5 minutes ago he was interviewing street workers, you know? I don't get it.
I guess I never even thought that's probably what they were until you pointed it out.
Oh, no, they definitely are. Because in the Glebs, where they go rat out Dimitra and Vlad, he specifically says, if I catch you street walking again, you're going to be fined or go to jail or something. So.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the movie.
It's the same in the Broadway version, which kind of makes you wonder. Like, I get it, but like, especially since like this is primarily kind of a family school.
Yeah, so it's like vague, right? You know, they of course use polite euphemism. So no kids are going, what does that mean, mommy? Probably.
What's that?
Anyway, Anya.
Madoka,
her last show with Soragumi.
Oh man, the scene, the scenes with her and Kotobuki in the Senshuraku, I was like dying.
Yep.
So she was also.
Yes. No, seriously, Madoka made me cry probably the most. The first and second stream of like anything, because I was like crying over Madoka during her first solo and crying over Madoka during the reunion scene with her grandmother and crying over Madoka in the pair dance. So it was just all crying all the time.
Yeah, and it's such a wonderfully emotive performance. Like the show gives her a lot to show off with. Sure. And she really, really takes advantage of it. Because it's a show where, like, she has really cute stuff. She has, like, really, really feisty stuff. She has really strong and mature moments, but also sensitive stuff. And then, you know, Inaba comes through with the most tender pair dance ever.
My feelings. Yeah, and, like, what was it? Was it midway through Anastasia when we found out that Madoka would be transferring? Was it after Raku?
Yeah, I think it was right. Was it right before
early January?
The first Senshuraku or something?
Yeah.
I know she knew at that Senshuraku because they mentioned it. But I forgot how much before it.
She
was.
knew. The
she knew.
Yeah.
They tell them way sooner.
They obviously.
Yeah, I think it was announced maybe like a week before, but I don't remember exactly.
But yeah,
but it was a very short
time. It was like I feel like it was December when they announced Madoka is leaving. And we were like, what?
Yeah.
And then like pretty soon after that, it was only like 2 weeks or something. They were like, guess what? She's like, Jun Hana's becoming the next top Musumeyaku of Soragami. Like there was no time to like react and be ready for it, for my heart to be ready for it. It was just like, surprise, new top Musumeyaku for you. Like I've never seen that fast of a turnaround, you know?
I think they were kind of
scrambling,
really uptight against the upcoming show announcements.
Yeah, so we can talk about Jun Hana in a little bit, but man, when I saw Madoka in Anastasia, I really felt like she's ready to just leave and go to Broadway right now. Like so incredible.
And all those like all the costumes, all the low neckline shoulder backless dresses.
Very good, very good.
So good.
The one with like the pearls, the pearl drapes. It's so good.
It's the dress of my dreams. I was obsessed with that dress when I was a teenager. And I mean, they changed it obviously, so it's less of like a sleek evening gown and more like princessly, but
it's kind of more period.
Right. I mean, I would hope that they would try
little
to be
bit,
appropriate.
Yeah. We need those in the stage studio so bad.
But I was obsessed with the cartoon dress, and I'm obsessed with this dress.
So it's Julie and I both live on the West Coast, and I think you must have gotten the Anastasia tour a few months after I did, because the Takarazuka announcement hadn't been made yet. But one thing that really struck with me as I saw it is that it had a very Takarazuka aesthetic. Just in that there's a lot of ballet and things like that featured in the style of costumes. And I think it really plays into Takarazuka's strength, particularly around Musumeyaku, and what they're able to do, and what they're really good at. And I was listening to the Broadway version, and all respect to Christy Altamore, who plays Anya there, but the character almost felt too syrupy sweet. But when it was a Zuka version and Madoka playing it, it just was able to fully embrace that that kind of Musumeyaku charm and strength in a way that just I felt lifted up the entire production.
I really feel like it helped that Madoka had come through both Barcelona and Flying Sapa, where she is playing kind of a more powerful character, at least for parts of the story, in terms of the balance of leadership.
I mean, it's always that thing, right? Where I feel like a lot of these Musumeyaku have had it in them all along. It's just the Hankyu doesn't give them the opportunity. It's not like they couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, speaking of Musumeyaku, I just want to give a quick shout out to Mikaze Maeda, who's gonna accompany chaperone Madoka over in Hanagumi.
Her mom is gonna go protect her in Hanagumi. Not protect, you know what I mean.
Yeah, Maida's little thing,
oh my gosh,
called her out in the Senshudaku and made her tie. It was so cute.
She was
so cute.
That part was so sweet.
And then I found, I'll have to send it so you can put it with the podcast. I got Ranju Thomas memorial book, and I was flipping through it, and I found a photo from 1997, back when Mikaze Maeda had just debuted and was in Hanagumi. She and Ranju Tama were doing some advertisement thing at an amusement park.
I can't wait to see that.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, and she and Sushi Kotobuki Tsukasa, up until now, they were the only two people left in Sotagumi who had been with it since it started.
Pretty much after Ayumi-san, Suzuna Saya was moved to Senka, it was just Sushi and Aoi who were the only remaining original Soragumi members. So it's very bittersweet for her to be moving on. I'm equally upset about Aoi as I am about Madoka.
Yeah. Yeah. I do kind of like that they managed to find a Hanagumi Musumeyaku who could take over as Fukukumicho, because Hanagumi is like so
and
thin on
I'm sure
Musumeyaku
that
right now.
So
And that might have been the
I'm
reason
sure
for the
that
change.
sort of, consideration goes into it. That's the thing, right? Is of course I'm also glad to see Aoi spreading her awesomeness to other troops. So, and I really feel like this is the cement that shows me that Sushi and Aoi are in for the long haul. They're in for being Kumicho and being Senka members as long as they want to, which makes me very happy.
Yeah, and I really love how good Kotobuki is in both male and female roles.
Yes.
Like, I love that she's been able to do more of that recently, because, like, so many times especially when, like, older otokoyaku play female roles, it's because they're an antagonist, or, like, it's being played
Good
for
point.
comedy. But having her playing such a beautiful, regal, and good
I didn't think about it like that.
person who has, like, a ton of emotional depth.
That's true.
Yeah, because, like, back in the 80s, you had, like, I think she was even Fukukumicho at the time. You had Hokuto Hikaru in Yukigumi, who played, like, evil noblewomen in Rose of Versailles.
And I mean, there's Junko, of course, Emma Naoki, is like, practically has played female roles almost equal to the number of otokoyaku roles in recent years, and I do feel like sometimes it's for laughs, but yeah, I get you. Having Sushi-san play like a sensitive really brings that emotional climax of the story. Yeah,
and then in the co-ed version that got cut short because of COVID, that was
that's right.
Asami Rei, who was in the older Takarazuka Anastasia. Yeah.
Oh wow.
There's like in the promotional videos, there's like a brief second of it.
Yeah, man, I'd pay good money to see that.
I did pay good money to see that.
And then the other Takarazuka casting in that version is Komu as Countess Lily.
Wow, Carly.
Yeah.
Really was.
No,
Yeah, I was
got
thinking
tickets
about
to
you,
that
Carly.
version and had to give them back.
Oh no.
Yeah, that whole
Carly.
that show was tragically at the beginning of March, and it their Twitter account was following a lot of the like backstage stuff, and they shipped in so much stuff from like the Broadway archives or whatever. Like, it was so obviously like a high budget show that got to have like maybe 3 performances at the beginning of COVID when they were just trying to like figure out, should we stay open, should we not stay open. But yeah, I you know, I'm a Komu fan. I obviously wanted to see that. I was dying to see Asami Rei pretty much just as much in that role.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully I'm not too heartless to kind of move us along, because I want to make sure that we talk about most of the main players. Let's talk about Kiki as Gleb. So Seri Katoa played the bad guy.
Okay, she looked amazing.
Of course she does.
Like, I don't really have many coherent thoughts other than that, because that was all very distracting. I don't know what it was with like the perfect makeup and the suit, and she looks like kind of stressed out and sad the whole time.
Kiki's just perfect.
Good.
In my opinion, Kiki is just perfect. Every solo of hers was perfect. The emotional energy that she brought was perfect. The final confrontation scene absolutely kills me. She's like on the floor,
because that's
with torment or whatever, and my heart was on the floor.
Yeah, because like the character. Again, I don't think this is Inaba's fault, but it's not really. It doesn't give a lot, but she works with every single bit that's available there and does such a good job.
She's gotten a lot of practice doing that. Because unfortunately, a lot of her roles, even going back to Hanagumi as Mibante, are very walk on, walk off. And this is definitely not the first time where she's had such little to do, basically. Like, even over the span of a 2-act play. Like, I don't even know how many minutes she was actually on stage.
When I saw the tour, I was certain in my heart
yeah.
that Kiki was going to be Vlad. And I was, my
Same.
brain was like, it'll be like Me and My Girl. Sir John is like the older gentleman, and there's all the funny jokes about needing a cane and having a bad back and whatnot. And Kiki literally played Sir John. So I thought with 100% certainty that she was going to be John. Or be,
she role switched that role.
She was going to be Vlad. I thought for sure. Because Vlad has all of the songs with Makaze and all the stage time.
Yeah. It's super obvious watching. When I watched the Broadway version, I thought like, Vlad's the Nivante role. And when I watched the Takarazuka version, I thought Vlad's the Nivante role.
When I watched the tour, what I'll say is when I saw the tour locally here in Arizona, Gleb bowed like the Nibante would bow, and I just don't get it. Like, I don't get why even Broadway directors think that like the young hot question mark guy with less stage time is definitely more the important character than the character actor older gentleman who has way more stage time. I don't get it.
I don't either. I said it like,
I wonder if it just has to do with the like quote unquote position in the story, which, even though honestly from my point of view, like, that's still kind of questionable in this instance. Like, I
said that offhandedly to some of my Japanese friends after they saw it, just like, Vlad was so obviously the Nivante role, and they were like scandalized. They were like, "What are you talking about? He's an old man."
But so is Sir John.
So yeah.
Yeah, but the other thing I've noticed is that Takarazuka will often cast for the love triangle. Like in Oklahoma, back in, this must have been 2006, Tom was the lead. Kiria Hiromu plays the role of Judd, who compared to, oh my god, what's the name of the other character in...
I see his face, but I can't think of his name.
I think, is it Will? Anyway, but like there's kind of there's a B love story in between Aoki Izumi and Imisaki Nene.
Yes.
And really, like, it's that character, the lead for the B story, has much more stage time than Judd Fry, but Judd Fry is the one who has the love triangle with the main heroine. So
yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's kind of reminiscent of the Franz Lucchini situation in Elizabeth. Except in that one, like, Lucchini's kind of more fun, but he doesn't have as much stage time. And Franz is around all the time. And I think usually Franz has been Nibante, except when there's a Senka person, except when there was...
But he's always treated as Nibante, like, that he gets to do that, like, after, that first solo, the finale.
Yeah. But yeah, like, because, like, when there's a pair of con men, it's like... I've watched
it's
melancholic
like Ocean's 11,
gigolo
right?
people.
It's Ocean's 11. Kiki Makaze is the con men combo, and Zunchan was the bad guy. So to recreate that is definitely what I expected.
Yeah.
I can't be mad.
No.
Zunchan Vlad is now my favorite thing ever. Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Zunchan things ever.
Yeah.
I love what she did. But yeah, I feel bad that Kiki didn't get as much stage time.
That's
Did anybody want to talk more about Glab before we move on to talking about Vlad?
Oh, well, about Gleb, one comment I wanted to make was that what I loved about Kiki's performance was she was so gentle, because that's what made it all so heartbreaking. That it would be easy to kind of just roll your eyes at this sort of starry-eyed revolutionary character, but the way he was so gentle with Anya just really, I thought, brought a lot more depth to the character. That I was really
definitely one of her better strengths is just the way that she pulls on such emotion on stage, and there are numerous times, like, throughout her career where she's been able to do that, thankfully. And it's just something that I really wish she was able to do more. I just want it more. Yeah, it's just so, but like it is really remarkable, like what she's able to do with the limited amount of time that she's given.
Honestly, I'm pretty curious about her character in the upcoming Ceviche to the House, because it looks like it might pull on a similar vibe, but be, since it's originally by Ueda Keiko, it can kind of tailor itself better to the situation.
Yeah, here's hoping.
Yeah.
At least she's still, I don't know. People have been saying that, like, is Kiki's time running out and is Zunchan being pushed more than her? I hope to every hunk you got up there that that's not the case, because it would break my heart to see Kiki get passed over, even though I love Zunchan so much. I also love Kiki so much. So
she's been ready.
She's been done ready the entire time she's been in Sorogumi.
We're going on year 6 as Nibante.
Also, real quick before we move on from Gleb, just a huge shout out to all of the fan artists on Twitter who would get the ad-libs portrayed in art within like hours.
Yes.
Sometimes it seems like they were posting them during intermission. It was amazing. Yeah, somebody made like 4 dozen of them all by themselves. Yeah. It's incredible.
I haven't even gotten to read them all
Beautiful.
Yet, but there was a Kiki ad-lib point in Oceans as well, right? And I know there was a lot of jokes about Kiki's gun in El Japón. So apparently this is just a thing now, that like Kiki gets to ad-lib at some point, and it's necessary.
Apparently on a recent cafe break, like she said something about like, oh, more and more in the script they just write, we'll leave this bit up to you.
I love that.
Great, she's great at it. She like dreams them up while she's like falling asleep or something. But
I like Becca. Funny. I like the thing you said about Gled being gentle, because now that you mention it, it almost seems like the like gruff and tough soldier is like an act that she's been trying. Gleb has been trying to be like his father this whole time, but it's not actually him on the inside. Because like he's trying to like be now then, young lady, what have you been doing? You know, with these hoodlums, pretending that you're the Princess Anastasia, and then as soon as he turns around and sees that it's her, he like melts immediately. So yeah.
And then makes Madoka do that. Insanity. Oh my god, she's so
god.
Also, I
that
feel like
Raku ad-lib was
the Raku ad-lib was incredible.
Oh, yes,
and, like,
yes.
I was weird because I like vaguely, I think in chat when we were watching it, you mentioned like, oh, the ad-lib, wonder what the ad-lib's going to be, and I'd completely forgotten that there even was one, and I was kind of like, what? And then I was like, wait, what in the world? How could you like do an ad-lib? Like, why would give this character in this
it was
spot?
Weird.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and it was completely off the rails. It was so funny.
Yeah. So what she did in the first stream, for those who haven't seen it, she on Grand Theater Raku, she picked up the phone and pretended to make a call to like a box office to say, hello, yes, please, could I have 2 tickets to the Tokyo Takarazuka Theater opening performance of Anastasia? And was like really laying it on thick with the exact date and time that Shonichi was going to be, you know, hint, hint, wink, wink, make sure to buy your tickets, because, you know, his phone call was just really laying it on thick of, here's the first day it goes on stage, here's the day tickets goes on sale, please buy tickets, and then like trying to convince Madoka to come with her. It's very funny.
Cute.
She wouldn't let Madoka go until Madoka said yes. And then Heidi, would you like to recount the Tokyo ad-lib?
Oh yeah, sure. So in the Tokyo ad-lib, she goes over to the desk and picks up this folded piece of paper, which unravels to say Senshuraku in kanji, and proceeds to put on this bright, beaming, beautiful smile and prance around the stage. Like, just back and forth up and down the stage. Yep. And then when she's done, she goes over and hands the sign to Madoka, who looks terrified out of her mind and is like, go do it. Like,
just do what I just did.
All right, just do what I just did. And like Madoka's seriously looking at her like, what the hell,
Trying
man?
to stay in character.
Yeah, trying to stay in character. Like, are you serious? Because this is so totally insane. And then she goes and she kind of like runs around the stage, but still with the same kind of like petrified look. And comes back. So ridiculous. So funny.
I did see some fan arts of that.
Yeah, it was so good.
And then she hands
rolling
the
on the
sign
floor,
to
yeah.
her lackey, who I think was Karin-chan, Hanabishi Rizu, and tells her to take it away. And Karin-chan proceeds to march very determinedly off stage with the sign. She didn't exactly prance. She sort of marched.
Yeah. Take it away.
So good. Yeah, I thought she was going to make us cry, but she made us laugh uproariously instead.
Yeah, she was having a good time.
Bless.
Yeah, absolutely. So
and
it's made me really
in the
happy.
final confrontation scene, as I alluded to earlier, she absolutely had my heart in the palm of her hand and crushed it, you know. It just, the intensity, it's like, if I had been seeing this in the theater, I feel like I would have been vibrating in my seat, you know, like the tension that she brought to that moment that Madoka could feed off of to also have that tension as like this climactic battle of words showdown. It was incredible. And I know that that's down to them as actors, not just down to the direction or the script.
Yeah, she really loves to sink her teeth into those moments, which is amazing.
Give her more to do. I'm really hoping for another Kiki lead after our next Soragumi Grand Theater.
Please.
It's time.
None of this robbers nonsense.
It's time, in my opinion, for her to have another one. So, I mean, like, I'm putting it out there. I would love like a Kiki Zune buddy comedy or something. Like, make it happen, Hankyu. Make it happen. But
yeah, soon, hopefully.
Let's talk about my new favorite person in the entire world, Zune. Those of you who've known me for like just all of my Takarazuka fandom, I've been watching Soragumi forever, and Zune-chan debuted in Soragumi, and I've been watching her this whole time. But what happened somehow is that I fell madly in love with her a few months ago after having seen her this entire time. It doesn't make sense, but yeah.
But some people are like that, though, that you've seen them for a while, and then either they've grown in their career and how they portray themselves or something.
I
but like,
she's
it just
leveled up so
clicks.
much in the last 2 years.
She has.
Also.
It's her Otokoyaku Junen, I think, is she reached her Kenten point. She got promoted to Sambante when they did that whole shenanigans with Ai-chan, which, you know, not happy about, but like Zune-chan really leveled up. And all I can say is it's really gratifying to see. And I felt like her, Vlad, was not just like a funny old man who has a bad back. She wasn't like doing like a caricature. She was actually being Vlad. And, you know, as silly as it sounds, I really feel like she disappears into that character and I don't see Zune-chan anymore. I just see Vlad.
Well, similar to Kiki, I found her very sweet, which made it more than just I'm an old man with a bad back. Like, particularly the way that she looks at Madoka in a lot of scenes.
Yeah, because it's kind of like, if you think about the backstory, you know, he used to be...
He used to work in the palace.
You know, a very wealthy, probably...
Wealthy by calling people.
But rather, you know, courtly sort of gentleman. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I was surprised that they didn't, like... de-age him, I guess. Like, I'm glad that they didn't, but I was kind of expecting it when I watched it, and I was like, someone's gonna have to just like be an
I
old
went
man,
the opposite. I thought they were gonna
I
thought they were gonna pull a Meat-chan and put her in a fat suit.
Yeah, or some I kind of was expecting that too, but like I was just so blown away by like how well she played the actual character. Like she killed it completely unaltered. And one of the things I mean, I'm not, other than like Kiki's lack of stage time, one of the things I was a little disappointed about was I love Kiki, and Eureka's chemistry so much.
Yeah.
But Zoon also had such good like buddy chemistry with her that I didn't feel like that was lacking from the show in general. And I really
they got to
appreciated
work
that.
off of each other in a way that maybe they haven't before.
Yeah, I really loved her performance. It was just so sparkling, I guess. I don't know how else to put it.
Like you said,
really noticed
or
it.
I think Becca said, the way she looked at Madoka during Madoka's first solo in my dreams. You can see Zoon-chan's face in the background a little bit better in the Grand Theater stream than we could in the Tokyo one, but like she's just making these like I've seen an angel, I'm having a revelation kind of face, and it just it moves my heart. Let's see what else.
Her dynamic with Sora was
I was just about
perfect.
to say we have to start
can we
talking
move
about
on to that
Lily.
next?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, Sora.
Honestly, like that was my favorite part of the show, I think.
What can I say? The costumes.
Lily's costumes.
Lily's costume is so good.
Yeah. I'm trying to be well behaved. I kind of I did entirely lose my mind on everyone who watched the live stream with me.
Her red dress was really good. I was kind of disappointed by some of the other ones.
Red dress.
Yeah, like the gray one, I really like the color of the gray one. The fit is like a little awkward. I think some of it was that was a dress that needed period accurate underpinnings, and they were not doing that.
The one thing is that like obviously Vlad and Sophie are supposed to both be older, and it's a little harder when you have someone like Sora, and they didn't try to make her look older or seem older in the way that they did with Vlad. Maybe a little bit to the detriment, but it wasn't too distracting. I just remember from the tour version that like, they have this big dance number during Countess and the Common Man, and then they're both panting afterwards and like being really ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, because like Lily, Sora definitely, she comes off like considerably older than Madoka. I don't know about Dimitri, like, but there's definitely she's not young, but there's still an age gap between her and Vlad, which I kind of did. Yeah, which I don't dislike, but again, I haven't really seen many other versions of this, so I liked what I saw there.
It wasn't so
but I don't have
important.
much comparison
It's just kind of
points.
because she keeps referring to the past, like, oh, I'm not the person I used to be, and there's this implication that they had she had to have been of a certain age for them to have had a romance when they were back in Russia together. But yeah, let's rave about Kazuki Sora.
Oh man.
It was, having not watched a lot of Soragumi recently, it was my first time in a long time, like seeing her, and I was really impressed. Like just the way that she could carry a scene, when she sings "The Land of Yesterday," just how much humor and charm she brought to the role.
I just was like counting like down the like when I watched the Broadway version, and then like fantasy cast in my head and all that, and was just like counting down the list of relevant Otokiyaku. I was like, it matches, but will they? And then they did. I was really
thank God.
happy. Like her Anita in West Side Story is like my favorite thing that I've ever seen her in, and one of my favorite Takarazuka things that I've ever watched. And like this was like very excitingly close, I think. It was great. I was so excited at the beginning of last year to see my two favorite people both play the same role. Like, how often does that happen?
That's awesome.
Maybe someday I'll fill in the other gap if they do it again.
I hope so.
They spent so much money on it. I kind of hope they do. But no, Sora was. Yeah. I mean, Sora was brilliant. She's just like the contrast between like Lily being all uptight and Lily like
Yeah.
letting loose.
I love,
was
that Land of Yesterday scene where Vlad sneaks in at the very end and is like in the background being silly, blowing her kisses. And then, it really is the Countess and the Common Man, I think, is a comedy highlight of the show.
Yeah, I love that she kept her range still kind of like she wasn't always up in the high, voice. She still kept some of like the more Otokuyaku. I think more of her like more natural,
which again is
speaking
appropriate
voice,
because she's
too,
like
right?
older.
yeah, it's very low.
Right. Yeah.
So it works.
So it was really, and she did it just so
Everything.
well. Like she's an incredible performer. Like I love her singing. Like more and more I hear.
I mean,
it, so.
the Lady Gaga gif of her just saying amazing, incredible, extraordinary, never the same. Like that's what I think
Yes.
of when I think of Sora. Literally in anything, not just Lily. She just I cannot overstate how much I think she was one of the most accomplished triple threat, incredible performers in Takarazuka, and give her a chance, Hankyu. Well, I guess she is getting a chance because she's got another bow coming.
Yeah, the chirashi.
Oh yeah.
What more need I say?
Please.
You don't. If you haven't, go to the official site or the Takawiki media, or I don't know if it's on the Takawiki. Track down that chirashi of Sora's new bow because
that's
it's
sure
pretty
a
spicy.
large poster that will be
Make sure you
posted
have a
in
cold
public
glass of
spaces,
water.
I know.
in train stations.
It feels a little unsumida to be looking at it.
They're the ones who made it.
They're the ones who made it, which is the crazy part. Yeah, I'm super excited to see what she can do with a 2-act main stage. She's gonna kill it. Whatever happens in that show, she's gonna kill it.
And maybe a partner.
Or 3?
Or 3. I mean, it sounds like maybe 3, but I'll take it.
Without getting too off track, Sora is playing a historical figure who is like an artist / anarchist in early.
Yeah, she's playing a guy who's making a movie about that person. And also that person. It's like it's kind of like the spring thunder thing, Yeah, so that's gonna be interesting. I'm very excited about all of the like.
Wait, that's the art in Copacabana. It's a guy who's writing a musical, and then he plays the guy in the musical. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, there's gonna be. I'm really excited about. I think it must be because of all of the increase in stock for that era from Haikara-san, but they're doing so much more like Taisho era, which is so good aesthetically, and also I feel like it's now far enough away because they always seem like a little wary about doing things set after Takarazuka exists in Japan. So they haven't started to do it that much, but I think they're a little more, this is fine actually, which is always nice.
I never thought about it with that demarcation. I know that many things aren't modern, but I never thought that it's like, does the Marvel Cinematic Universe make references to this?
Yeah, very good point. But yeah.
And then
go ahead.
Any other character? There's because they didn't have a Shinko for Anastasia, and it hadn't even been cast by the time
My
Shinkos were canceled. But I do kind of suspect maybe they were thinking about Junpana and Anon Yusei, because Junhana obviously, Anon Yusei interestingly got an interview through the Tokyo newspaper column, which doesn't always happen for kids that young. So I'm kind of wondering if that was a factor. And then who's the Musumeyaku who played Alexei? Was that
it? Was Juri?
Was that
Amahiro Mineri? She's had the one Shinko lead, but
Yeah.
it sort of feels like
I really like Mineni, but I figured she's
getting
probably
passed over is what it feels like.
losing the window, which is sad.
Well, I mean, my dream would have been Takato Chiaki, Koti, and Yumeshiro Aya as the leads in Anastasia, but then they took Aya-chan away from me, so
yeah.
Where did she go again?
Yukigumi.
She's
She
in
actually,
Yuki, yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of stage time she had in FFF.
Fortissimo.
Fortissimo.
Yeah.
I was surprised.
Yeah,
But
I
because that
definitely
whole
feel like
show-
she's headed for good
Mhm.
things.
That whole show had such a weird, like, through line of that her character showed up again after I thought that, okay, that's her only scene, and, you know, I thought she wasn't going to show up again. We can talk more about that later. But yeah, because my dream of Koti and Aya-chan Shinko didn't happen, of course I have been looking at Junhana. She has a little appearance in the train scene where, like, Dune sort of picks her up and makes her do a spin, just so that we can be like, hey, there she is, there's the girl. And then in the second act,
And then
she has Swan Lake.
Yeah, the ballet scene is so
Incredible.
pretty. Yeah,
Incredible.
and like that's the one that Anon Yuse was like talking about in the interview, where she was like talking about, like, you know, it's a small scene, but she still learned a lot about expressing herself because it's acting through the dance choreography. And then who's the villain in that one? Was
Hello,
that
I know that Carly would like to talk about.
Yuki Xian, the highest jumping
the highest
person in
jumper.
all of Takarazuka. And Sora's #1 fan.
But yeah, I really liked that scene.
It was incredible. I need a angle just for the ballet.
Same.
I feel like the Raku live stream did give some pretty good angles, except when it kept cutting to everybody watching. That's one where you want to be in the theater so you can just opera glass it. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a big thing that we've now missed from Junhana not getting a cafe break because there was no Shinko for her to be behind.
That's so sad.
We got literally nothing. So I pretty much only have what I've seen in Yukigumi, which is PR Prince. I need to watch Hollywood Gossip and the other leads that she's had to even get an idea.
She's definitely still growing on the singing, but she's very good acting wise. Like,
and dancing, obviously.
I watched her in Fiery Bolero, which is a show I already love, and Saki's version is stupendous. But yeah, that one shows off Jun really well, I think.
I feel.
But again, the singing is a little bit of a
still a way to
go. Improving there, but the dance scenes, because that's a very dance heavy show, is very good.
Fair. Yeah, so I feel like they're really pushing this ballet talent that she's got, because she played a ballerina.
Yeah, because she's
in Anastasia.
Yeah, she's ballet again,
and then in Spitzer House as well.
Yeah, yeah, and I think she said. Yeah, because she's definitely one of the girls who came in on dance and also likes acting, and she's not talked much about
singing,
her love of singing, but like she's perfectly fine, and I'm very excited to see more of her.
Yeah, I mean, I have no choice but to be excited and hopeful and embrace the like sort of second wave Makaze top era that is gonna involve Junhana. There's Sherlock Holmes coming up as well, which
very excited
looks
about
very
Sherlock
much
Holmes.
like another antagonistic love triangle between Makaze, Junhana, and Kiki.
And let me just say that kind of Sherlock Holmes adaptation would annoy me but with Ikuta, I'm like, Yes, you're a genius, sir. Please do whatever you want. I will send you a fruit basket.
Is that another 2-act?
It's a 1-act.
It's a 1-act, and then there's a cute there's like, who is it? Noguchi Kosaku's doing the review, and it's gonna be the debut for the new kids.
Yes, it's the Hatsubutai, and it's like candy.
Yeah.
French. Okay.
It's like pastry, French
Yeah, I rolled
pastry
my eyes
themed,
at the
I
French
think.
thing because
Oh
I'm.
boy.
But it seems like maybe there will be a little bit of a plotted
Yes.
through line because there's a character name for
And-
Yurika and a character name
Exactly.
for Junpana,
So I love
Interesting.
reviews with a through line.
which is I think just the French words for like wind and
Flower. See what you did there.
flower. I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Takarazuka directors aren't that. What's the word I'm looking for? Creative.
Not subtle.
They're not
is
that creative when it comes
Takarazuka.
to giving people names and reviews. But yeah, we shall see how that turns out because, of course,
Mm-hmm.
considering the many Sherlock adaptations that I'm sure we've all seen, Irene Adler is, like a adult woman femme fatale kind of character.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how she brings that across.
Although, like, we do know I'm really excited. Ikuta knows how to read, so he's at least probably going to be reading the actual source material and then come back to do whatever he wants. Because that's just all I ask. Like, do whatever you
Do a
want,
little
but research first.
Yeah, I'm really interested.
I just like the way you put it. He knows how to read.
Listen, Ishida Masaya does not know how to read.
Takarazuka.
It's true.
What are you gonna say, Becca?
It's true.
There's been a number of Takarazuka adaptations where it's really clear that they watched that somebody in the writing team just watched the movie version.
Ishida Masaya's Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh, let's not. Let's not.
Yeah. Or I was thinking even the adaptations of Great
Yeah,
Gatsby.
with
I
guess with
yeah.
Sherlock.
But yeah, the Sherlock thing is
Well,
also.
I was just going to say, what
sorry.
I'm curious about is how much of there's going to be a mystery to solve, because obviously that's the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like with
right.
Phoenix Wright, where there is in fact a mystery, there is a bad guy, there needs to be evidence collected, and putting that evidence together to like solve the mystery. That's what interests me the most, is like, are they going to draw on one of the original stories? It seems, from what I understand about Phoenix Wright, that they sort of mishmashed a couple of stories together from the video game to make the mystery that encapsulated the first story. Yeah. Right.
They did. It's based on a certain case, but yes.
Yeah, I'm very interested. I'm hoping maybe as we get into some promotions, maybe they'll mention some specific stories. What I'm really curious about is that Takarazuka has not touched Sherlock Holmes
as a main
before.
Character.
I think some of it may be the Japanese. Some of it may be the Japanese copyright and the notoriously litigious Holmes estate.
Whoa. Hold on, I have to back you up here for a second because, sorry, but like one of the moments in which I fell in love with Miss Hokusho was her.
She
has a wonderful portrayal of Sherlock in AL,
because
which is the Yamato Yuga show.
Yeah, so they've done Arsène Lupin multiple times, but apart from the cameo in Arsène Lupin, which also was a thing that happened in actual Arsène Lupin materials, they haven't really touched Sherlock Holmes, which makes me very curious. And honestly, I'm also kind of interested because the Masatsuka Lupin show has a vibe, and I'm very curious if there's gonna be any crossplay between that, like aesthetically.
I haven't seen that one.
They kind of have similar tones.
AL. Do you recommend it? What do you think?
Yeah. So the Masatsuka Lupin is, I think it suffered from the fact that it was about a very, very late Lupin book without any prior Lupin stuff. So they kind of wash over some backstory, but like it's a show that rides on aesthetic, and it has all the aesthetic, and if you enjoy your otokoyaku, very, very evil but stylish about it. Amazingly, Koma got that character,
kidding.
And it was
alright.
It's one of the best things I've seen.
Oh, alright. My interest is piqued. My interest has always been more piqued by the side story Mia Kacha Bao thing that happened after that.
Yeah, I've never watched that one. I'm just like, oh, okay. They were kind of just like in the show. They're just kind of like
there
around. Like they seriously don't have very much bearing on the plot. It's like all. I think they do something at the end, but it's weirdly coma heavy.
All right, we got way off track. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. I like Posatsuka and Sherlock Holmes too much.
Yeah. We were talking about upcoming Soragami stuff, but I think we touched on like all the main players. Somebody started to say about Aoi-san before, who played the Tsarina Alexandra. She didn't really get anything to do other than like the big high part solo, or what do you call it, like counterpart in Once Upon a December, which was just same, like, you know, part of me wanted her to play the Dowager Empress because Musumiyaku writes, but not surprised that they went with Sushi. I'm happy with Sushi's performance.
Yeah, and also because like Sushi had already done the exact same role. Yeah, so that was kind of a fun callback.
Yeah, but this one was
what did Aoi do in that one?
Gosh,
was she also reprising the same role?
She might have been,
or no, because I think Lin Kira was Alexandra in that one.
It wasn't her.
Wild.
I'll click on her page
wild
right
stuff.
Now and find out what she did in that show. So we're talking about Land of the Gods, which was 2017 Makun's last show. Grand Duchess Xenia Alexandrovna. So she must have been some other royal, you know, somebody's cousin or somebody's aunt or something.
Also a good show if you like your Russian aesthetic.
Yep, very, very good.
We touched on the ballet kids a little bit. So Anon Yusei and Jun Hana as the principals in Swan Lake, and then Kyo as the bad guy. Shout out to my kid Koti Taka Tochiaki as one of the drunk guys who like tries to set upon Dimitri and Anya in that one scene and get their asses kicked. That's about all she did.
I think the one negative to this show is it's real rough on the rest of the members of the show.
Yeah, it's like when you could have had a Shinko, it's not that bad, but without a Shinko, it's a little
tragic. But
yeah, but that's like so common for the Broadway
it's true
adaptations, which tend to have pretty small, high up casts.
Let's face it, that Takarazuka has a very particular structure in which your top couple need to be featured, but then you also need to, in an ideal world, give roles of certain size to different people, and most Western musicals just don't care about that. There's no need to satisfy that kind of structure.
Tries that hard. I mean,
I
think of a lot
like,
of shows where it really is just about the three main people, and the rest of the roles you can forget about it. What are you gonna say, Kitty?
Yeah, well, I was just saying because, like, in Takarazuka, you already know who you have, and then you're writing the show, which is kind of the opposite of Broadway, which is like you write a show, and then you cast people, so you don't really need to bother about it because nobody's going to quit if you don't give them nice stuff. You're going to hire them for whatever they'll take.
Right.
So it's kind of the opposite situation. And some... Like, Inaba doesn't do a lot of plays, but in his reviews, he's usually pretty good about giving people stuff to do. So this, again, isn't something I'm really going to fault him for.
And I mean, all that being said, something that Soragumi is sort of known for, they're like choral power. And so the big number led by Rinkira, totally blanking on the title, Stay I Pray You, so beautiful, and really,
that was gorgeous.
A lot of the big numbers were really good.
Paris Holds the Key to Your Heart was also a good, like, everybody gets to come out and dance kind of number. And Land of Yesterday too. That one, it was funny because
love a good bar scene.
Yes, we got Shido Ryu as a recent transfer as well, and she had like at least 3 different background characters, but she didn't really have one through character. So it's interesting to see how she's kind of like filled that sort of uncle, sort of Brobante spot in Soragumi, since we lost like Aki and Riku and a lot of
Everybody.
people. Kakeru.
Everyone
Yeah.
except Dean Kira.
A lot of people that I miss. But yeah, so I'll be interested to see what they do with Shido
Yeah.
from here on.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk a little bit? One thing that really struck me in this is that due to coronavirus restrictions, that there was the A cast and B cast of background characters, and so like it meant that there were only 55 people on the stage as opposed to
75.
I forget how much it is normally,
Yeah.
like
78 or
Yeah.
something.
Soragumi is big.
yeah.
Yeah,
We
they're
didn't have
78,
any-
80.
We didn't
I
have
was-
any
I mean,
retirements in Anastasia as well, so Soragumi is staying pretty big.
Yeah, I mean that we have two
Right.
people moving,
Otherwise,
but otherwise, yeah. And then new kids
mhm.
with the next show. So
So that'll be interesting. Yeah, it's always really obvious, like in the Rocket, because the Rocket looks really tiny compared to normal.
yeah, because they're always they're splitting up the babies, so the
I guess
Rockettes are so.
that's so funny. I
small.
didn't even notice, but it's been, like
Mhm.
I said, a long time since I watched anything. I guess we watched Casanova the other day, but like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. Now that you say it, I realize I'm like, oh yeah, the Rocket line was quite small compared to what you usually see.
But the
What was
stage
it
never
called?
felt
Speaking of
empty, and I thought
the
that was
end
really
review,
big.
I think
so
we were all perhaps surprised
Yes.
by Zoom-chan coming out and doing the first number, as opposed
Mm.
I really thought that Kiki would be furiously changing backstage and coming out to do Journey to the Past. Like, that's just the thing that they always do in literally every
Yeah.
2-act musical, not just Elizabeth, but like even ones that are originals, like Never Say Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
If you do a 2-act, the
Yeah.
first thing that happens at the end review is the Nibante sings a solo. Again, I can't be mad because
Yeah.
my like favorite person right now singing this incredible song from my childhood is like, if I could write a letter to my 13-year-old self, I would not believe.
Yeah, like there are definitely ones where that hasn't happened, but it's stuff like Rosa Versailles, where you can't do that because they're both dead in the carriage and can't get
Well,
there
and
that
then
fast.
in Da Vinci, where they did the review first and the play second, it was
Yeah.
babies. I
Oh.
mean, babies. It was
Yeah.
like Sora and Moeko and
Yeah,
somebody.
but yeah, it's always interesting to see a review with a finale that's not done by
Mhm.
Koike,
It was great.
especially because even Ret J, where Inaba was involved, but like, okay, so I don't think it's just me. I think this is like a thing for Koike with his
Mhm.
choreography. Koike finale pair dances. The final pose almost always has the Musumeyaku like on her knees, like on the floor. And it's always very noticeable when that doesn't happen now. I'm just like always very gratified when that's not
Incredible.
the thing they're doing, because I don't mind it once in a while, but it's when it's you do it every single time.
Yeah.
It's like, can we do something else? Something else, anyone?
Yeah. I'm so
It's so
pleased.
weird. I
that
feel like I
we've-
haven't seen that as
We've
much.
moved away from Koike as like the number one director. All
Yeah,
things.
because like
Thank God.
getting Anastasia, getting
Casanova.
I Am From Austria, getting Casanova,
Wait, I
getting
I don't know if I'm getting Inaba and Ikuta
on-
confused.
getting Inaba Daichi.
Yes.
Is Ret J co-director and Anastasia. Ikuta Hirokazu is Casanova.
Okay, so I was
They're
getting them
different.
confused.
They're different dudes.
Yeah.
But and then Saito Yoshimasa doing I Am From Austria.
Mhm.
So it's just like, honestly, Koike has not been working all that
No, he
much. He's kind of gone down to, I think, more like one show a year.
Sort of like the path
and
of
he used to be
Ueda Shinji
at, like,
or
2.
Shibata Sensei
Mhm.
of just like the name credit.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and
Right.
I'm really very curious. I'm sure they're not going to admit to anything, but I'm very curious how much he is doing versus how much Inaba is doing on Red J.
Actually, I just remember, didn't he step down from the Takarazuka board of directors?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
and then he did Po Clan, and he stepped down right around the time the Kenshin play was canceled, and then he did Po Clan.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, also, I just was looking on TakaWiki, because he is not a CN and we're allowed to talk about his age. He's in his mid-60s. Like, I feel like that's a perfectly acceptable time to not be working 80 hours a week.
He's older than my dad.
But I mean, also, it's kind of just like
and I don't think he's married. Huh. I've tried to look it up. I don't think he's married. Interesting. Which is interesting. He's certainly not married to an OG.
Would have happened by now if it was going to happen, I think. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, I just mean like the fresh blood, so to speak. Like, we're getting a lot of even outside
it's
of
always
just
interesting.
Koike always having hoarded all of the 2-act musicals for such a long time, getting those, but then also we've got all this.
Yeah, and it just kind of feels like there's a lot of shows that Takarazuka wouldn't have done because Koike had no interest in them, and now we're doing other things.
But also,
so that's fun.
Unrelated to Anastasia, like all of the new female directors that are doing bow shows and things like this. I feel like there's been a new crop, and I'm super excited to see what they do. Is Sora's bow?
Yes.
New person?
Sora's bow is the debut of a new woman director, yes.
Nice.
Yeah. And I think there's like one more in waiting. There's like the lady who did the God of Stars Shinko, I think, is in waiting for one.
Yuka is Sora's bow hall show.
Yeah, and there's another lady who is like Reika something, I think. I think there's one more coming. But yeah, it's always interesting to track the directors because it's kind of hard to find information. But it always makes me very happy that as soon as they got over themselves and realized they could hire women, it's been almost exactly even, or with a female overbalance, because we've had a couple women directors join and then leave without debuting. And we've had that happen with male directors as well, but it's always interesting. And I think with COVID, that's kind of slowed down. It's going to slow down the ability of these directors to debut because there's no Shinkos and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's nice that they're finally getting on that again with Prince of Roses and Yume Chidori.
So one last note about Koike that I wanted to make is that every Seito has a Koike impression. I mean, have you noticed this? That everybody has a Koike voice whenever they're telling stories.
I thought you were going to say something about everybody has a story of how Koike bullied them or something.
Well,
I thought that too.
Oh yeah, that's that also.
But yeah,
it does seem like Inaba is somewhat of a more supportive personality.
I really like his reviews. And this finale is really, really great. One of my favorite parts was the Musumeyaku, quote unquote, because Sora was also in that. Which was actually really cute because she got to dance with Kiki, and that was wonderful.
Yeah. The Kombi was reunited.
Yeah, it was. It was so cute. And then I did, even though Kiki didn't get to do the song at the end, which Zune did so beautifully, her like half of the Kurorendi was phenomenal. So
can we talk about how Soragami's new thing is harem pants? Apparently,
that's fine.
I'm not mad at it.
No,
but I feel like this and El Japón and Aquavite, and I feel like there was one other one where it's just harem pants everywhere.
I guess it's just that's just gonna be the 2020s thing, like the early 90s, like giant triangle shoulders.
Maybe it's a Inaba thing because costumes. That makes me think of Fantasia as well.
Oh,
Hanagumi.
That's funny. Yeah, Takarazuka Fantasia. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. And
No,
the
it's
pair
great.
dance,
Nope.
Madoka had the most gorgeous costume. I was
Oh,
So
sobbing.
pretty. I love those
it's
costumes.
so good. Like, that's like in the top 10,
I
seriously.
know. And I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I sort of felt like Madoka's pair dance costumes had really hit or miss. And this time we finally got a good one.
Yeah, and I think I remember hers and Yurika's, like, they just looked so well
Yeah.
together.
Mm.
Definitely one of my favorite 2-act
Mhm.
finales in a while.
Yeah.
So cute.
I love them. Well, we kind of got off track, and I want to
Yeah.
bring up some of the stuff that we were talking about if we also record a new segment today. But did anybody want to shout out anyone else or have any final thoughts on Anastasia?
I'll just say that this is one of the first Zuka shows I've watched in a while, and I really loved it.
So good.
You know, having also just not watched Soragumi in a few years, I felt like this was a show that rekindled my love.
Aww.
Yay.
Yeah, it was a big, like, splash of cold water, I guess, from the, everything of this past year.
Yeah, and like it's nice in the COVID situation to have a show that's mainly just
Fun.
big
Yes.
Yeah.
spectacle, pretty, heartwarming kind of story, no horrible
Yeah,
tragedy.
to add on to that,
totally
Heidi, I
agree.
was
Like-
reflecting.
Go ahead.
That when I saw this back, I think it was September 2019, on tour. You know, I liked it, but I didn't love it. But I kind of feel like in the current moment we're in, this show resonated with me
We needed it.
much more.
Yeah.
Particularly this idea of like looking back to a
sometimes-
happier, sparklier
yeah.
past.
A feel-good
Sometimes you just
show.
need the
Sometimes we
good
just need
vibes.
a good old feel-good show. Everything works out nicely in the end for everyone. Nobody dies,
Especially in
I think for
Soragumi.
me, it was also like, because again, I hadn't watched any Zuka for fresh Zuka for such a long time, and so many of you have already been watching some of the streams and said, "Oh, you should watch this." Like, I still need to go back and watch Flying Sappa, and I just hadn't gotten around to making the effort, I guess, and I'm kicking myself a little that I hadn't done it earlier, and I definitely want to watch others coming up soon for sure. But it's really difficult to feel like, as international fans, not being in Japan, it's extra hard normally to feel connected to what's going on. But since now they don't do Iri Day anymore, like, you don't even have like any of those things flowing through the internet anymore either, and all these other things that just aren't there anymore, it's extra hard to like keep track of what's going on, I feel. So, or have the, I don't know, investment, I guess. And watching this again really kind of like helped.
Yeah.
Feel
And I
that
really
again,
hope
so I missed
that
it.
I think Hankyu's goal always is to make money and bring new fans into Takarazuka, bring new fans in. And I really feel like this is the kind of show that's hand tailored to just rake in the bucks and bring in the new fans, because it's
Well, it was
very
supposed to
accessible.
happen during the
Yes,
Olympics,
yes,
right?
yes.
So
Yeah, it was
that's
gonna
right.
hit during the Olympics, yeah.
it was supposed to be in Tokyo during the Olympics.
So
Oh,
the
that
timing
would've
was
been good.
perfect. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
just a great
But-
feel-good show, and it doesn't matter if it's not that deep. I still cried at it,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
a
nice. It's a nice show. I watched it. I felt nice, except
I like
when I
that.
was looking at
And
Gleb
the
and
music
Lily.
is beautiful.
Then I felt other things.
You
Oh,
go home
yeah.
singing the whole soundtrack. It's one of those kinds of shows.
Like
Mhm.
Casanova.
Well, I think that's about it. Any
That's
final
good.
thoughts? We're clocking in right at 1:45, so I think we did pretty good.
Yeah. Sounds
Yay.
good.
Thanks everybody for listening. I really hope that if you missed either of the live streams, you go out and buy the DVD. I can't wait for mine to arrive, because now I'll have a third angle of everything that happened in the show. And yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon. Bye.
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 Bye. Bye!
Many thanks to Michael B. and the Arcanum String Quartet for their wonderful arrangement of Sumire no Hana Sakugoro. And thank you, listeners, for enjoying our podcast.